something dark and scary.
Amy and Helen, two best friends, always enjoy one another's company. They became good friends on the first day of high school and been best friends since. Amy and Helen had a sleepover at Helen's house. The girls watched a scary movie and ate popcorn. Helen's parents were out of town and gave Helen the okay to have her friend over. Helen would go stay with Amy the next day until her parents got back. It was the agreement of both families. After the movie, the girls started talking about music and dance moves. They turned on the stereo, then danced, showing off their moves. After a while, Amy suggested that they play a game of hide-and-go-seek. Helen wasn't too fond of it, knowing that her own house gave her the creeps. She would often hear strange noises at night. She could even swear she caught glimpses of moving shadows. Helen didn't want to scare Amy with her haunted experiences of hers. She also didn't want Amy to see her frightened. Helen grabbed a flashlight from the garage, then laid it on the kitchen counter. She told Amy, "Whoever the seeker is will have the flashlight." Amy laughed, agreeing, and said it would make things more scarier. Amy thought it would be great to play since it was dark outside and it was late. Helen sighed, feeling uneasy, then felt she should be the one hiding. She couldn't imagine searching her large house, hearing those creepy sounds that made her hide under her covers at night. Amy said okay, then both girls shut off all the lights in the house. Helen waited for Amy to start her count to 60. Then she ran to hide. Amy heard Helen's footsteps running upstairs as she hid her eyes in her arms as she stood leaning in the kitchen doorway. Amy smiled, figuring it would be easy. After Amy counted to 60, she went looking for Helen. She searched upstairs, going to Helen's parents' bedroom first, then looked in the closets. She laughed as she went from one room to the next. Helen hid behind the couch downstairs in the living room. She listened, hearing Amy's footsteps upstairs. "I know you're up here. Helen, I heard you," Amy says, laughing. Helen started to feel uncomfortable. She felt that her friend heard the same strange sounds she had heard. Could she be? Helen thought as she knelt down with one knee on the floor. Helen then heard Amy shout, "Found you." Amy then ran down the hall upstairs, saying she doesn't want to play anymore. The sound of footsteps are heard passing the kitchen, running into the living room. Helen got scared because she could still hear Amy upstairs calling for her to come out of hiding. Helen was about to stand up and run to her friend. She stopped as she spotted a strange figure lurking from behind her father's recliner. Its black eyes glisten in the dark. The movement on the carpet is heard. It makes a light breathing sound. Helen's heart raced in her chest as she covered her mouth and knelt back down. She could hear Amy running downstairs, sounding frightened. Helen then ran to her friend, racing her way, screaming at her to run. Amy didn't wait to understand why. She ran with Helen to her bedroom. Helen shut her bedroom door, then locked it. The two girls, breathing heavy, sat on the bed with fear expressed on their faces. Helen wasn't sure if she really saw what she saw, but Amy was sure of what she saw. She told Helen that she looked in the closet in the hall by the restroom. She heard movement and thought it was her. Just as she opened the door, something hideous growled at her. It looked human, but it was pale, with stringy dark hair. his face bony and sickly looking. Amy says she shined her light on it and it lunged at her. Amy cried, telling Helen she wanted to go home. Helen told Amy that they have to wait until morning so they can see better and that maybe the creature would go away. Amy said no and that she has to go. She pushed Helen aside, then unlocked the door. She then ran down the hall, then down the stairs. Helen didn't want to stay by herself. In a hurry, she picked up her coat, then turned to run. Just as she went out her bedroom door, she heard Amy scream. Then it went silent. Helen stood in the doorway of her bedroom, quietly listening if she could hear Amy. There was no sound, just the sound of Helen's panicked breathing. Helen listened closely as she began to become even more frightened. She never heard the front door open. She couldn't believe that this was happening. Maybe Amy was playing with her. Amy loved to scare, prank, and joke around. Maybe Amy was planning on scaring her. Helen thought to herself, nothing like what she was thinking could be true. A monster? A ghost? A creature from the unknown? It had to be her mind playing tricks on her. And her friend knows she can scare easy. Amy, I know you're going to scare me, so you can stop, Helen says, looking into the dark of the hallway. Amy, it was scary, but now you have to stop playing around, Helen says, hoping to hear from her friend. All of a sudden, she heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Helen sighed, feeling relieved that Amy decided to quit with her prank. Helen stood in her doorway listening and looking towards the stairs. She then heard footsteps. She listened closely. The footsteps stopped as they approached the second floor. Helen stood quietly listening and squinting her eyes. Amy, she called out.
I'm not Amy.
A voice responded back. It sounded evil and malice. It made Helen race into her bedroom, slamming the door shut. Just as she did, she heard running footsteps coming at her bedroom. Helen picked up one of her soccer trophies, then held it as a weapon. She began to cry, backing away from her bedroom door. She picked up her cell phone, then called Amy. She figured if Amy was scaring her, she would hear her cell phone ring. After calling, she heard her friend's ringtone, who was right outside her door. She then got upset because Amy really did frighten her. She then thought Amy might have set up a camera in her house somewhere to catch her reacting to her prank. Now she was going to post it on YouTube. Helen dropped her trophy on the bed and tossed her cell phone on it too. She walked over to her bedroom door, moving a strand of hair from her view. She unlocked the door, then opened the door a little. In the hallway, crouched on the floor looking up at her, is a pale-faced creature with a missing nose, dressed in Amy's outfit, wearing Amy's makeup. Its solid black eyes stare up at Helen, never blinking. It then smiled, revealing crooked, dagger-like teeth. Helen shut the door, then locked it. She was so scared she couldn't scream. She couldn't do anything. She just went back to her bed, then sat down, her mouth wide open with a look of horror expressed on her face. Her cell phone then rang. It shows that Amy is calling.